What do we love about Disneyland? What is our first and fondest memory of visiting the park? Find out next in this episode of Dark Ride Dads. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Dark Ride Dads. I'm your host tonight, Cooper Sorensen, and I'm joined by Jason McNinch and Zachary Clough. Tonight, we're going to be breaking down our love for Disneyland, the things that we love most, some of our earliest core memories, and that one moment when we fell in love with Disneyland and knew we needed to come back time and time again. Say hello, Jason.
Hello.
Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Hello, Zach. Say hey.
Hey, how's it going? Also happy to be here.
Sweet. For tonight's episode, we're going to start it off by talking a little bit about our first and earliest memories of Disneyland. And then we're going to move into that moment that we just fell in love with Disneyland and knew we had to go back. So let's start off with Jason. Jason, what's your earliest memory from Disneyland?
The first time I went was not, in fact, my moment that I fell in love with Disneyland. But the first time I went, I was really little. I don't know how old I was. Very small. I asked my parents today. They did not know.
They couldn't remember.
They think it was when I went with my mother's family. I remember there being aunts and uncles there, and that I was short because everyone was very tall.
All right, so what's one of your memories from that?
So my earliest memory of Disneyland is when we were in line at Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay.
And one of the things I love the most about Disneyland is that I'm as a creative. Zach and I are creatives.
Cooper is
professionally.
First jab taken.
There you go. Cha-chow.
Didn't realize we were just going to jump right into that. All right.
Anything in your brain is always better than what you're seeing.
Just tell me more about the Pirates queue.
No, I'm getting this. So one of the best parts about Disneyland is Walt successfully was able to take what was in the imagination and have it out for everybody to participate in, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I was there in that line, as a child, seeing like they had the metal sign with the pirates.
Yeah, out in the queue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I was like, I want to see real pirates. Like I had a moment where I felt like I was in a different world and was convinced that I was going to see real pirates.
Your first taste of magic right there.
First taste of magic. That was my first memory of Disneyland.
All right, Zach, let's throw it to you.
And I just remember same thing. I don't remember how old I was. I would guess 5 or 6. It was after my mom got remarried, my stepdad. We rented like a big old Winnebago thing.
Nice.
Drove all the way there. I remember my brother got kicked in the face on the way.
That's very National Lampoon of you.
Yeah,
I love it.
Right? But I remember when we got there, again, I was so young, but I remember the first time that I saw the Haunted Mansion. And as a kid, I've always been drawn to like Halloween and just spookier things. I was like, oh, that's a really interesting looking, structure. Like, I didn't look haunted. Nothing, I was just like, let's do this. And I remember, for me, the first moment that we got in the queue, and I remember the moment that we walked into the stretching room, right? Still a kid, not knowing what was going to happen. We get in there, those lights dim, and that voice starts up, and I'm like, what is going on?
You were terrified.
I tensed up, right? And then I'm kind of like, this is actually kind of cool. And then when those pictures started stretching, I was like, this is magic. Yeah. This is absolute magic that I'm witnessing. And the way that those things just kept growing, I was dumbfounded as a kid. And I was done. That was the moment that I was like, this place is magical, this place is spooky, it's all the things I love, it's beautiful, and I was done.
That was it.
That was it.
Well, I'm glad you both have like happy first memories from Disneyland. Me, not so much. So, and this is like a core memory for like me as a human being. Even I remember we went when I was 3 years old. So that would have been 1989, 90. So it was still like really pretty old school, right?
Yeah.
And my parents, Roger Rabbit was a huge thing, and my parents knew that I loved Roger Rabbit, at least in theory. And I remember meeting Roger Rabbit for the first time, and that character was freaking tall, and it just terrified me. Scared?
You were really scared.
Oh, absolutely.
One of those kids?
I was like horrified. Like I remember standing in the queue looking at her and being like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this. And then our time came and I was like, nope.
So was he outside the ride?
And they had like his car.
That's cool.
They had his Toontown, the Roger Rabbit spin car.
Yeah, Benny.
Yeah, right outside, and like you got to sit in it with him and get your picture taken. And they tried to put me in that car with him, and I was like, nope. I will be anywhere else other than this.
So you were scared for a not good reason.
For a not good reason. Yeah, no, it was terrifying. So that's like the first childhood memory I have. And then we went again, I think when I was 8, right before my 8th birthday. And it was Pirates. And like 8 years old is that magical time at Disneyland. Right. Same thing, right? Like I'm standing in the queue, I'm like, this is amazing. And then, you go on that ride and it's a great ride. And then we went out to the gift shop and I got to buy, this was back when they sold, weaponry at the
good old days.
Gift shop.
The good old days, we call it.
I got like a rifle pullback, spring triggered rifle. And I was in heaven. Like that was one of the best memories I had as a child going to Disneyland. The other one, I'm gonna throw you guys through a loop. Did you ever stay at like Disneyland Hotel when you were younger? Or did you guys always stay off property? Do you remember? Dude,
we drove there in a Winnebago. You think that I stayed in the Disneyland Hotel?
All right. So when I was 8,
great, my friend, we were lucky to park in the parking lot
right after our breakfast at Bruce Chris.
Do you remember that? They used to let you park in the parking lot. Your campers and stuff.
No, I don't remember that. I never stayed in a camper. Disneyland.
What's a camper? We actually had money growing up.
The crazy thing is we didn't, but apparently it all went to this. So we were staying at the Disneyland Hotel, right? Like the old school Disneyland Tower. And in that courtyard, not even before there was a pool, I don't know what was there before. I should do my history on this. But they used to have steering wheels that were coin operated, and you would put in a coin, and you could drive one of the Jungle Cruise boats in this lagoon out by the hotel.
That's cool.
And again, another core memory. And it was just like the coolest thing in the world for me.
Man, can you imagine affording that? Being able to...
It was a quarter.
My brain can barely imagine it. Just
Zach's just in his camper dreaming of Disneyland.
I'm like, someday I'll be.
Did you actually go into the park, or did you just look through the gates?
Maybe
Wonka style.
Maybe it was all a dream, a lovely dream. I want a golden ticket. That's how I got there. Wow.
So there you go, like 3 really different experiences.
Yeah.
You got the poor kid, the rich kid.
I wasn't rich. We drove. We didn't.
It's what his parents had to do for him after the full-grown man in rabbit costumes.
He had to go above and beyond to make this thing great.
We're gonna have to do something to divert his attention.
You give him all the quarters he wants.
They're like, we're going to the park today. Putin's like, I'm just going to stay here and do the boats all day. More quarters,
it was
please.
so cool because it was a big ship wheel, but then you had the controls for the throttle that looked like the old school boat controls. It was the coolest thing in the world. I'll have to find some pictures.
Special memory.
It was special. So those are my memories as a kid of the things that I remember most. Pirates. I don't know what it is, man. It's just a classic and it sticks.
It was magical.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Zachary. Let's keep moving. Tell me a little bit about that moment when you fell in love with Disneyland. You knew this place is my place.
Well, I would say that it was that experience in Mansion, right? But I was really too young. There's only a few things I remember about that first trip. I remember I got a Goofy puppet. There's a picture of me. I got my mouse ears on. My pants are kind of falling down. I'm playing with this Goofy puppet, right? It's like the perfect picture.
Did you not afford a belt?
A kick in the face.
I couldn't afford a belt. I would use the puppet string player. What a jerk. What a jerk. I'm trying to share this memory.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful memory. I can't wait to hear
I remember very few things outside of the pictures in the mansion from my first trip. But I remember going back and later on as I started realizing that I was really into art and animation, right? Probably middle school, high school. I remember we went back, my mom and me and a couple of friends, and I was way into the Disney movies, wanted to be a Disney animator, all those things. And I remember when I got there, it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I was like, this place is absolutely flawless.
Yeah.
Design top to bottom, the experience, and
100%.
Yeah, it was I think it was just walking back in the park and seeing Main Street, seeing the castle at the end. I was just like, this place is gorgeous. And the fact that
So you said you were 8? You knew this when you were 8, or were you talking when you were older?
No, this was when I was older. We didn't have the money to go a lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So once when I was a kid, and I don't think we went back until I was middle school or maybe freshman in high school. But I remember looking down Main Street, just the sound, like the atmosphere, everything. I was like, oh man, I'm in. This place is amazing. And it was one experience after another. It was, Space Mountain, Star Tours, all the different things. One thing after another. It was just more and more and more. I couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
The smells, the sounds.
It may be the only man-made place that is one of the only that are inspiring, right? It's better than you can
That's a good word
picture
for
in your mind, right? Like it inspires creativity.
And why do so many people hate it? I'm just kidding. That's a whole different episode. Let's hear about yours. When did you fall in love?
When I was in high school, they had concert choir, and concert choir went to Disneyland every year for 3 days.
And you were a part of this.
So I joined concert choir for that reason. And it was amazing. But I guess one of the things I love the most about the park too is that it's the absence of all the responsibility and all of the crap. Like everything else goes away, right? When you're there, you're just completely entrenched in this like dream world, right? And I think being there with my friends, with no adults, very little adult supervision. Like we basically met up at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, and we were just in the park all day long with friends, and just, I don't know, the freedom to be irresponsible, right, and hang out and laugh. And I just remember laughing,
And to do it in an environment like that, right?
Yeah. Laughing it so hard in the park with my friends. Like Disneyland with friends is what made me fall in love with it, right? Like it was just the best of all the worlds. Like I didn't have a role to fill. I didn't need to be, I don't know, the older brother, right, or taking care of people. I didn't need to be watching my kids. Like none of that. It was just me and my friends in the happiest place on earth.
Disneyland with friends is such a different experience.
It really is.
Like going with kids, great. Going with like family, amazing. But like, I can see why that first experience, friends only.
Yeah.
You were kind of like,
this is
amazing.
This is it. Yeah. Well, this is a really nice segue because like I've got a similar experience, except so we went when I was 8, and then I didn't get to go again until we were married, and I was like 23 or 24. And we were going down. Kalina's sister, my wife's sister, was getting her passport for Australia renewed, so we were going to LA. We had 5 of her little siblings, and her mom and her sister, and then her sister's little kids. So there were 6 little kids with us, which is pure chaos, right? And it's hot, and I was kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, it's fun, whatever. But then one of the nights that we were in the park, all the kids were with their parents, and so my wife and I got to sneak away for a minute. And so we had dinner at the French Market before it was Tiana's, and it was amazing. And I remember sitting on that patio, eating some incredible food, listening to the music, and talking with my wife, and realizing, like, there's a whole different way to Disney, right? Like, you don't have to run around, and you don't have to do, like, every single ride and feel that pressure. Yeah. Like, we sat there for probably 2 hours, having a good conversation, having good food, listening to music, and just being like, this is a special experience, right? And that was the moment where I was like, holy smokes, I love Disneyland, right? Like, I can do other things and feel that pressure to ride rides. Like, you can go there, have a good meal, have a good experience, and just really connect with the people you're with.
Yeah.
And so, like, that to me, I was just like, I'm sold. Yeah. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, that was similar to mine. It was just the whole thing. It was the music, the smells, the food, like the rides, everything. I was just like, this place is next level.
Well, every experience is just like a short 2-minute walk away, right? Like, you're either in an amusement park or then you're, like, in New Orleans Square having like a romantic dinner with your, like, it's all right there, right?
And
it's
you're
like
being attacked by pirates, and like,
it's perfect. It's perfect.
It's such an awesome place, and I don't know. I know there's people that don't love it, but for me, like you were saying earlier, I think Walt's vision and what he was trying to create and how they've executed on that over the last, what is it, 70 years now? 70 next year, is just phenomenal. Right? Like, you can go there and you can have so many different experiences, and every trip is unique and different depending on what you want to do. And I think that's the thing I love most about Disneyland.
Yeah. Dark Ride Dads. What is it?
What's special about Dark Ride Dads, and I think the thing that makes this unique, I mean, back it up a little bit. Zach, Jason, and I have known each other for 18 months now. We all work together. Your favorite 18 months.
It's only been 18 months.
Don't fool yourselves. But I remember getting started at this company, like, first couple of days, and Jason was sharing his screen, and on his toolbar on his browser, he had his annual pass saved with that icon, and I was like, oh man, I gotta talk about that. I gotta slow play it though. I can't be like, oh my gosh, you're into Disney, I'm into Disney.
What's that hat? What are we talking about?
Hey man. Are you an annual pass holder? That's amazing. Let's talk about that. So I like had to slow play it and like get to know you guys a little bit before I was like, hey,
Oh, you came on so fast.
Definitely did not play it cool.
Came on so fast.
We could see it from.
Good golly.
Be transparent.
But yeah, I would say that's kind of like the basis and the root of our friendship. Is I was like, oh, we got to talk about Disneyland.
Started with Disneyland.
Yeah, because we were either just going or preparing to go. We just went. We had just got back from Disneyland. Me and my kids and my family. And I was like, I got to talk to these guys about it because I love Fresh Bake. I love Magic Journeys. I love watching crap about the park. We got to talk about this.
And so that's kind of how this all started.
Yeah.
Right. And then like very quickly after we all kind of became friends, it was like, we have to go to the park together.
So we found a way. We all work at the same place. That's a fun little tidbit. We all work at the same company.
Yeah. And it's a small company. So when 3 people go missing, it's pretty obvious.
And it shouldn't be to the same place.
Except me. I'm not like I can sneak away anytime I want.
Well, yeah, you're pretty much invisible.
Yeah, they don't even care.
You have a
real nice.
superpower.
But it was great. I remember we were there, right? We had made it happen. I remember we kept saying like, I can't believe this is this is rad. Like this is happening, right? And I remember we were walking around. We're like, can you imagine if we did this again?
We made a special shirt for Cooper.
We did make a special.
That'll make an appearance in a later episode for sure.
It was rainy.
It.
It was rainy. I've never experienced the parks with that much rain. It rained both
First time
days.
for me too.
Downpour, right, to the point where you had to like run and hide under things, and it was still amazing.
Yeah.
It was still amazing.
But like you could see people in the park that it ruined their entire experience. Right? But I think for us it was just like, oh, new wrinkle. New level.
This means new opportunities for more food.
It's churro time. Yeah,
We hit the food pretty hard.
Yeah, so I think it was really kind of on that trip where we all recognized, like, this is something that we wanted to do, right? Like, we wanted to talk about Disneyland more. We kind of have a unique perspective because we don't get to be there that often.
Right. We're not like locals, right?
No.
Yeah.
Once
Cooper moved out of his parents' house, I was like, it goes so often.
I don't have an annual pass, right? So, like, if I get to go once every 18 months, I feel like that's pretty good. But I want to go all the time, right? Like, it's always on my mind, and I'm always thinking about it. And I'm always thinking, man, I need to plan my next Disney trip.
Well, that's one of the things we wanted to do with this channel, right? Was like as we're all dads, like different. Like I've got older kids, you know, you guys are middle and younger, and so like planning a Disney trip there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different ways that you can.
And there's tricks you learn
There's
each
tricks
time you
learn.
go, and horrible things you learn you shouldn't do each time you go.
And that's just what we want to talk about. It's like the things that we've learned, the things that make trips amazing. Like, you know, we're not pros, we're not experts, but
we make it work and we have a good time every time.
We have some things to share and some things to talk about. And
Well,
so that's
I don't know about you two, but like I'm the one that does the planning for Disney in our house.
100%.
My wife,
Yeah.
she wants to know and she'll ask questions and she wants to be informed, but she's pretty much just stays out of the way and is like,
my wife's like, when are we going? I tell her the dates, and that's all she knows.
for real. And it's like, where are we staying? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then I handle it.
And I enjoy it.
I do too.
I
man.
love doing that.
I do too.
I could probably
Do
do
not
that
mind
for a living.
planning that trip.
Yeah.
No, it's like my favorite because you research things, you read things, you think about things. You look at the seasonal food
Watch
items.
those podcasts,
Yeah.
see what's new.
For real.
I definitely think that we will be having an episode in the future. We do need to talk about and share maybe our itinerary for the trip that we went on. I think would be really fun to share.
The bro trip.
The amount of food that we ate is astounding.
What's
astounding.
One of the things I love to do that drives my family crazy is I track everything. So
Yeah.
like we did this ride at this time. We made the net. We were in line this long. Like I track it all. And it's just because I like to. It's just who I am, right?
Yeah.
And we tracked that trip. We wrote down everything that every ride we hit. I think we set a record.
It was a lot for
We did.
rides. It was a lot.
And we set a record for calories. And it was
worth it. It was worth it.
It was something to eat
It's
after every ride we did.
It's a tall order
Like a
to live
meal.
up to for next time for sure.
Yeah, so I think in the future, like we're definitely gonna be talking about how to plan for Disneyland, how to make it work with kids, because we've all got experience.
How to make it
taking
work on
kids.
that budget.
Yeah, absolutely, right? What do you have to do every time? What can you skip on? We'll definitely get into some kind of food stuff.
How ghetto we've gone and places we've stayed.
Oh boy.
Pretty ghetto. We'll have some photos.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in the future, you're going to hear more from us, just our perspective, the things that we have made work. And then obviously, how do you make the most of that time when you're there? And you get to be there, even though we don't get to be there as much as we want. And again, there's different flavors of Disneyland, and I think we've got some experience doing it different.
And for all those who are listening and viewing, lots of stuff to give away. Our big plan for this podcast is more giveaway, cool Disney stuff.
We want to help you get to Disneyland too, right? Like we'll share our plans, we'll share Zach's itineraries down to the minute and the details.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Some well-designed swag for people. It's going to be great. Great merch.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. This is our first episode. We're excited to have the opportunity, and obviously you can tell we're all very happy to be doing this. So we'll be doing it again, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining. Thank you again for joining us tonight. And remember, if you want more content from the Dark Ride Dads, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment on our videos. Thanks for being with us. Have a good night.